welcome back everybody to episode 4. If you saw episode 3 or episode 2 or 1, make sure you're all caught up on all 3 of those episodes before we move on to this one, to see where we've been coming from and where we're going to. So this episode is going to be about taking off the valve cover of the head, looking at the tops of those pistons. We've been having that mystery oil sit for several days now, and so we are going to take a look at that. I've already taken off all the bolts and the nuts and everything. Like I said last episode, I had a friend come over at the end there, and we kind of got excited and got a little ahead. So I put it back together so you guys can see. So I already know what it looks like, but I'm not going to give you any spoilers, so we can look at it together. But I've got you all set up here. It's going to be real quick to run through each piece, see what we're working with. And then we'll come up with a decision about what we want to do from here. So let's take a better look. Alright, so like I said, I've already taken out all the bolts, all the nuts, all the head bolts, things like that. Disassemble everything. So last episode, we took this out of the way. I had to cut it off to get it out of the way. These hoses are going to get replaced anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. And then our thermostat, I just kind of screwed it back in there. Like I said, I like to keep stuff together. That way we don't lose much. I did test it. I bench tested it and it did work. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 valve cover bolts on here. They have specific little washers that are the shape around the edge here. I didn't take this out of the housing. It's pretty tough. It's fit in there pretty well. There's no reason to. So I lifted this off. Let me take a look at the push rods and the springs and everything. This is the rocker arm that was on it. Everything moves nice and freely, which is good. A little bit of resistance on some of them, but they all move. You can tell they've been adjusted because some are a little taller than others. If I can get y'all on camera. So you can see like some are super far down and then some are way up. So who knows how accurate that really was, but they'll look pretty good, and you can tell they've had oil on them, which is nice. And then when we get to here, I looked at all the push rods. They all look okay. I haven't seen one that's bent. And all the springs are nice and tight. So I didn't really see anything wrong with that. For the longest time, I spent figuring out, I got all the head bolts out, and I'm like, what the heck is still holding it on? And then I decided to take this off to give myself some time to think about it and remove this. This is our thermostat housing. And you can tell it's all corroded, so that's definitely going to have to go. And I opened it up, and this thing was just full of debris. I mean, just full of it. There was crumbs of whatever. You can see it's broken. You can still see some of the remnants of the powder in there. Yeah, that's pretty gross. This could be cleaned out, but definitely need a new thermostat. And then from there, I found the last head bolt all the way in the back. I don't know what my deal is, but I can't seem to find the hidden bolts and stuff in there. So I got it out, and I'm able to finally lift the head. So we lift it up to take a look at these pistons. Do y'all want to take any bets to see what it looks like? Anybody thinks it'll be good? Think it'll be bad? Alright, let's take a look. So lift up, take the head out, and there we are. So I did take a little bit of a rag and wipe these off. So there's a lot of carbon buildup. You can see where the mist oil kind of got around the rings, but it's just no way that's gonna. Yeah, I can't get that to move. The other thing I saw right away is all the channels for the coolant. All this orange, crusty nastiness. Some of it's kind of flaky. But the head gasket looks okay. I mean, I don't see any. Lift it up from this side. I don't see any major tears. All the metal rings are there. It's a good sign. But just from all the coolant channels, all that orange crust. So I did take a rubber mallet to it last night You know, I just cannot. I mean, that sucker's not moving. So this is what it looks like. I don't see any etches in the piston heads themselves. Not like something has fallen in there and been rattling around for years, you know, scuffing it up, scratching it up. So let's come up with a game plan. So let's see what we're going to do from here. Alright, so I actually want to take a look at the underside of this head. I didn't do it last night. So we're seeing this for the first time together. Yeah, you can see all the channels are all full of orange gunk, rusty nastiness. The valves look okay. They're seated in there pretty nice. Let me show a better look. They are definitely dirty, that's for sure. So, yeah, they're just really dirty. I mean, that's really what it is. Who knows how long this stuff's been sitting here? Who knows how long the car's been sitting there? I couldn't find that out. So the good thing is that none of the valves look bent. Just I was kind of worried about as part of why it wasn't moving, is I thought maybe a valve was bent, keeping it stuck or from coming up, or I don't know. So what I think I'm gonna do is take this out, take it off of the transmission, take it up and out, and see if we can take the pistons out individually. I know that people are going to say, you know, hey, you need to do this, do that, replace this, replace that. I'm just trying to get this to where it'll turn. I don't even know if I'm going to keep it. That's the other thing. I don't know if I'm going to keep this engine. But it's just something to work on for right now until I find a better one or come up with a different idea. I know I think I said it in episode 1, maybe it was episode 2, that I really think I'm going to make this into an electric car. Let me know what you think about that in the comments here. I really think I'm going to go through with that. It just seems more practical. The friend that came over last night, he's in the electric car industry, knows a lot about them. I'm not a whole lot knowledgeable on electric motors. Give me combustion engines all day. I could talk to you about it all day. But electric motors are a little different for me. So when he was here last night, we came up with some ideas. He had a couple books that I'm going to look through, and we kind of sketched out an idea of how it would work. Because we started talking about that after we had taken this apart and already looked at this. You know, I tried with the block of wood to get that to move with the mallet, and I just cannot get it to move. But I do think I'm going to take it out and see if I can clean the cylinders. I know somebody will say, well, you need to go get them machined, and you need to get them honed and all this and that, and that's great. I mean, on my other projects, I'll do that. I've done that, you know, and it works out really well. But for this, I mean, I don't know if it's worth saving it, especially because it is only 817 cc. It's like half of a VW Bug. So I think I will go with the electric route. But we're still going to work on this motor, try and bring it back, make it look better, and maybe somebody in the car group I'm part of would take it. You know, I don't want to give anybody something bad, you know, just tell them everything that I know. So I think that's what we'll go with. Now we've taken that apart. I've already drained the oil. So I think we'll start taking the pieces out to work on, to clean up. So let's see where we're going to start next. I think I'm going to actually start on the pans on the bottom, those metal trays that kind of catch everything from falling through. A lot of that I've seen don't have those. So I want to make sure I can keep them, use them in the future. But anyway, enough talking, let's do some more doing and get those pans off. Alright, so I've kind of come up with a little bit of a different plan. I got everything out of the way. The throttle linkage was all sorts of jacked up. Somebody had used wire and like twisted it all around and made a big mess out of it, so it took some time to get that off. But I got all of it out of the way. So I was going to take off the bottom pans, like the shields, the guards underneath, but I think it'd be a little easier to keep going over the top for now. I want to take out the generator, the radiator, the fan, the water pump, the starter, because it's all on this half here, and there's very minimal wires, which I really appreciate because I'm not much of an electrical person. I get the basic ideas, but I don't do a whole lot. But I want to take this half out, get a better look at the side of the block here, and then we'll go to the other side. The exhaust is taken apart. When I took off the head, there's 5 or 6 bolts that I had to take out to get the exhaust manifold off. It's all one big kind of piece. As soon as I pull it out, I'll show you guys. So yeah, let's go on this side here. I've already taken record of what wire goes where because my memory for color with destination is not the best sometimes. So I have these recorded of where they need to go. We're going to take the belts off, and they're kind of together, so I'll show you. Probably be easier that way. Sorry for the shake. Give me just a second here to get you guys set up. Whoops. Oh, twisting all over on me. Okay, so you can see the belt. It goes down to the main pulley here, and this is where the centrifugal oil filter is. So when you change your oil, you actually can take this off, you wipe it clean, and put it back on there. Real simple. You don't have to buy a bunch of the filters all the time. So anyway, I'm going to take these off. It'll pull off the face, and then I'll be able to take this first belt off, this one here. And then as soon as that's off, I'll be able to loosen the generator bolts and pull this forward, take off the belt. Sorry, take off the belt here, back y'all up. Take off the belt here, and I'll take it off the water pump. There's only, it's kind of hard to tell from here, there's only a couple bolts that hold it to the block. And this should be able to come out also after I take out the generator. Once those are out of the way, getting to the starter will be pretty easy. And then we'll move over to this side here to get the exhaust taken off. Like I said, it's all one piece that kind of curves, goes down to the muffler, and it's out where this big hump is. And then once that's out, this side's out, I'll be able to see better where these bottom pans are held on. And then we'll see just the bare block for the most part. And then, I mean, this thing can't weigh very much. You know, I'll take off the mount here, probably a couple mounts on the back side, slide it forward and up. Sounds good in theory, but it all comes down to action, not talking. So let me get those bolts off on the bottom here to get this pulley off, and then I'll bring y'all back when we start to attack this side here. Let me get you a little closer, take a look. I took off the pulley on the water pump, and I don't know if you guys know anything about Volkswagens, but this is very similar when it comes to how it's put on. Is I left it together to show you. Sorry about the wind. Hopefully it'll die down. But there are shims on here. Y'all can see those. So I left it just how it was on there. In between the pulley there are some more shims. So this is the front, and then in the middle there are some more, and the pulley actually sits in between like that. Get a little lower like that. And depending how tight or how loose you want it is how many shims you put in between. And Volkswagen's the same way with their pulley, because they only have their main drive pulley attached to the cam on the bottom, and it goes up to the fan structure, because you know VWs are air cooled. But this is how the shims work between the generator and the water pump. So I got the belt off of that, and I don't want to cut the belt between the generator and the between the generator and the cam pulley on the bottom. So I'm going to fidget with that some more. I just wanted to show you all that real quick. Alright, so I got my socket and ratchet out of the bottom there. I also took off the retaining bracket that sits here on top of the generator. So I'm hoping that I can kind of finagle it. I also disconnected the wires. Like I said, I already marked where these go. I'm hoping that I can kind of finagle it to just kind of come off the belt. Since that ring is off, but alright. So that was pretty easy, but that just came right out. Spins well. Just gonna make sure I put these back on there. Like I said, I like to keep a lot together as much as I can. That way it you don't lose parts and you don't forget where stuff goes. And anyway, so we're gonna go put this over on the shelf. You can see where it rusted on the set that down. You can see where it rusted on the pulleys. But no tears, no frays. I mean, for an initial startup, this would be okay. Got a little bit of play to it. So, set these over here on the shelf real quick. Alright, so now we have a couple options. I'm going to continue taking this off, but we can keep going this way, and I think that's the way to do it. I don't want to get ahead of myself and start moving over towards the exhaust side. So I'm going to take off this bolt down here. It looks like a 17. If I can grab my ratchet here. Got a 19 on there. Yeah, so it's a 17. And then, yeah, 17. Alright, and then I will say, I don't want to jinx it, you know, knock on wood, but a lot of these nuts and bolts are coming out okay. I think I've had one break off on me, maybe one. But they've all come out. I don't know if it's because everything's layered in grease and it kind of protected it or what, but you know, I'm not going to complain, that's for sure. I just wish there wasn't all this gunk in here and it wasn't seized, you know. Oh, there's one on the bottom. That's one thing I've learned so far after these past couple of videos is just look for extra connecting points. You know, if there's only one, you better check again. So I figured with something like that, the generator, especially with how fast it's got to run to keep the car charged, it's got to have two on here. And these are definitely, tell some oil or something sitting on those. So get this lock washer off here. It looks like nobody's really ever dug into this, at least this far, in at least a very long time. Looks like all the original stuff is still on, or someone put it together, really put it back together exactly how it should. This just slides off. There's the other washer. See a little bit of adjustment on there to tighten it. But it looks okay. No cracks, anything like that. I'm going to set it next to that generator. Got a little shelf with everything on it so I don't lose anything. You know, it wouldn't be very fun to lose a bunch of parts and have to end up replacing all of them. So let's get this bottom belt off out of the way. It's another similar situation. You can see where it was stuck on there. We're just kind of stuck in this position, you know, on the like that to the generator. I guess I need to get down so you can see it. So that's how it's sitting in there on the generator. And then, so what I'm going to do next is, let me get you up here and you can take a look, is I'm going to take off these bolts here for the water pump, take off the connecting to the fan shroud. Whoops, if y'all don't slide around on me. My friend who came over last night already kind of helped me get these off, get this retaining screw off this clip here, this really big ring. The good thing is the rubber doesn't have any holes in it. That's a good start. He took out the water overflow too that was sitting here. So I'm going to take these bolts off. I'm going to pull this out, and once I pull it out, we'll take a look at it, because the fan is cracked and all sorts of a hot mess. So let me get that out and then we'll look at it. Alright, so I got my socket and ratchet out of the bottom there. I also took off the retaining bracket that sits here on top of the generator. So I'm hoping that I can kind of finagle it. I also disconnected the wires. Like I said, I already marked where these go. I'm hoping that I can kind of finagle it to just kind of come off the belt. Since that ring is off, but alright. So that was pretty easy, but that just came right out. Spins well. Just gonna make sure I put these back on there. Like I said, I like to keep a lot together as much as I can. That way it you don't lose parts and you don't forget where stuff goes. And anyway, so we're gonna go put this over on the shelf, and then I'm gonna take off that bracket for it, keep it all together, and then we'll see if we can get this front motor mount out of the way. I don't know how smart that is. We're just kind of winging it right now, figuring it out. I'm gonna have to test this generator also. I'm gonna bench test it. We'll do that later. And see how that goes. You can see where it rusted on the set that down. You can see where it rusted on the pulleys, but no tears, no frays. I mean, for an initial startup, this would be okay. Got a little bit of play to it. So set these over here on the shelf real quick. Alright, so now we have a couple options. I'm going to continue taking this off, but we can keep going this way, and I think that's the way to do it. I don't want to get ahead of myself and start moving over towards the exhaust side. So I'm going to take off this bolt down here. It looks like a 17. If I can grab my ratchet here. Got a 19 on there. Yeah, so it's a 17. And then, yeah, 17. Alright, and then I will say, I don't want to jinx it, you know, knock on wood, but a lot of these nuts and bolts are coming out okay. I think I've had one break off on me, maybe one. But they've all come out. I don't know if it's because everything's layered in grease and it kind of protected it or what, but you know, I'm not going to complain, that's for sure. I just wish there wasn't all this gunk in here and it wasn't seized, you know. Oh, there's one on the bottom. That's one thing I've learned so far after these past couple of videos is just look for extra connecting points. You know, if there's only one, you better check again. So I figured with something like that, the generator, especially with how fast it's got to run to keep the car charged, it's got to have two on here. And these are definitely, tell some oil or something sitting on those. So get this lock washer off here. It looks like nobody's really ever dug into this, at least this far, in at least a very long time. Looks like all the original stuff is still on, or someone put it together, really put it back together exactly how it should. This just slides off. There's the other washer. See a little bit of adjustment on there to tighten it. But it looks okay. No cracks, anything like that. I'm going to set it next to that generator. So I've got a little shelf with everything on it so I don't lose anything. You know, it wouldn't be very fun to lose a bunch of parts and have to end up replacing all of them. So let's get this bottom belt off out of the way. It's another similar situation. You can see where it was stuck on there. We're just kind of stuck in this position, you know, on the like that to the generator. I guess I need to get down so you can see it. So that's how it's sitting in there on the generator. And then So what I'm going to do next is, let me get you up here and you can take a look, is I'm going to take off these bolts here for the water pump, take off the connecting to the fan shroud. Whoops, if y'all don't slide around on me. My friend who came over last night already kind of helped me get these off, get this retaining screw off this clip here, this really big ring. The good thing is the rubber doesn't have any holes in it. That's a good start. He took out the water overflow too that was sitting here. So I'm going to take these bolts off. I'm going to pull this out, and once I pull it out, we'll take a look at it, because the fan is cracked and all sorts of a hot mess. So let me get that out and then we'll look at it. Alright, so I've got those bolts out. What I noticed is that they've got a copper washer. I don't know if it's like a crush, it's supposed to be a crush washer. That's pretty thick for a crush washer, but you know, they're copper. That's a good sign. You know, maybe that came factory, I don't know. But if someone replaced it, they did pretty good with those. So there's 3 on here. There's 2 different styles of water pump. There's a 3-hole and a 4-hole. The 3-hole is definitely the more older, I guess the older version, and the 4-hole is the modern one. So I have all the nuts and bolts off of it. There was 3 holding it here, 1 on this part of the shroud here. There's 1 on the top here and 1 on the bottom to match, and then the hose on the bottom is attached. So we had that hose unattached last night. There was still a little bit of coolant in there, so that's why the metal is a little wet there. Kind of see what's going on. So this whole fan and water pump assembly should come out. I haven't taken it out yet, so we're going to see. Let me get my arm out of the way, maybe you can see better. Alright, so the hose is on it. I mean, that fan is toast. Boy. So when we look inside here, that is gnarly. That's real bad. So we're gonna set this out here. We're definitely gonna have to run some water through that. That's pretty bad. So we can take this part off here. This retaining loop should kind of pop right off. There it goes, just like that. And then the rubber shroud should come off. There are 4 Phillips screws on the sides, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that hold this kind of funnel on it. But last night when my friend came over, I think he took off all 4. I think he did. All 4 to pull the whole radiator part out. There it goes. Oh, you can hear more coolant come out before I left the tray down there. And that is, I'm gonna have to show you all this. You're going for a little bit of a ride. Yeah, that is like milky white. That's been in there for a long time. Long time. So I'm gonna let that drain. Going back up on your little stand here. So I'm gonna let that drain and then we'll come back. Alright, so I got a little ahead of myself, but I did get the radiator out. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt. I had to take out the screws on the side to get the main radiator out because the bottom hose was, the bottom attachment was catching on the bottom of this funnel piece. And I'm getting this last bolt out over here on the side. And this whole shroud will come out. And then there's a hose on the back that goes to the heater core for your heat for the car. Had a really old worm gear on it that was just rotted out, and I couldn't get a flat hit on it. I couldn't get anything on it to get it out, so I ended up having to cut it. I'm going to replace all the hoses anyway. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty orange in there. So I'm going to get this last bolt out, and then I'm going to move us to the exhaust side. And after we get the exhaust side out, we'll get these floor covers out and see the block for what it is with the oil pan on it and everything, and probably get that starter off too before we move over. So bring it right back. Alright, so I finally got that fan shroud out, got it over here behind you, but I want to take a better look at this radiator. It's not pretty, but really small, very small. It's pretty heavy too, so I don't know what kind of stuff is sitting down here. Y'all can see kind of right through that backside. This here is where the heater core is. That's that little tube runs all the way up to the front, and the heater core is basically it's like a mini radiator up there, and so that hot coolant goes through that mini radiator. There's a fan that blows across those fins, and it blows the hot air into the car, and that's what heats your car. But this, it's all orange in there. I'm kind of curious just to run some water through it, just to see what comes out. I might get this re-cored, I don't know. If I am doing this, 100% doing this electric conversion, then I don't even want to bother with it. I do not have an engine hoist, so if you're asking why don't I just do it all as one piece and take it all out, I don't have that. But luckily this engine is so small that it can be moved by hand basically. So we're at the point now where the whole left side, except for the starter, the whole right side, so the passenger side, is all empty, nothing here. Except for the starter, which I think we can do next, and then move on to the exhaust side. Bring it out here and let's take a look. So, get you a little closer. So, we've got this whole side empty. Sorry, let me get you a little bit better. So we've got it all nice and empty. You can see all the debris that's been sitting there over the years. But the thing is, there's no holes underneath it, which is good. This back scoop is actually where the radiator sits, and that's the tube for your heater core, for your intake there, for your hot air in the car. And the sides is for the air to flow through, and that fan sucks the air through and out. It's good that that scoop is still there. When it comes to the electric conversion, I don't know what I would really use that space for. It'd be a good space. The holes are nice and big. Those are factory holes, so we could run cables through there depending how I want to do this setup here. So next is going to go to the starter and take that off. I think there's only 3, maybe 4 bolts on that, but all the electrical for this engine is what you see right here. This is it. So I mean, minus your voltage regulator, but this is it, and it's all in one spot, which is nice. So I just have to undo this here. Well, now that that's out of the way, we can just do that there. Pull this starter off. I know it works. I jumped the solenoid to the starter and it kicked over, so I know it works before I disconnect it, because you can see the battery line coming in here. I'm pretty sure that used to be black. Still a gray color. There it is. Now you can start to see the black. And then take this out, and then we'll move to the exhaust side and see how that goes. Alright, so now we're on to the exhaust side. I got the starter out. The piece of flywheel that I could see looks really good. It's got all the teeth. It looks good. All the studs look clean. Just some debris on the side that fell between. So that collects in that little gap there. Okay, I don't know what that is. Anyway, we're going to be moving on to the exhaust side. Now there's like hinges, I guess you would call them, that are on this side that hold it up. I put some penetrating fluid on them. I'm letting them sit for a second while I'm talking to you. But there's only 2 wires on this side, one for the oil pressure, and the other one is, I think, like a dummy light, like a warning light. I can't really tell from here. But anyway, there's 4 bolts, 2 on this side, 2 on the other, that hold this exhaust in. Now the only thing is I can take those out, but am I going to be able to snake the exhaust back up, or do I want to take the pan off first? I think I want to take the pan off, so I'm going to drop the pan on top of the exhaust. So if the exhaust is down, I'm going to drop the pan on top of it, this floor pan. And then I'll come up to the top where I'll have more room. I'll take those 4 bolts off, and it should all come down together. Or I can angle it up, or however I want to do that. From what I can see, there's only 1, 2, 3. So only probably, I don't know, 8, 9 little screws that hold that into the floor. I just gotta be careful not to get a bunch of dirt and leaves in my face. So let me do that, and then I'll take those bolts off. Once I have that all disassembled, we'll see how we get it out of here, and I'll bring it for that. Alright, so I was able to get that bottom tray out. It just kind of slid over the side of the muffler down there. So I've got 3 out of the 4 out, and the last one's on the verge of coming out. So I wanted to stop so you guys could see it come out. Alright, there it goes. Alright, so I think the best way is just going to go down. Kind of go around the fuel pump, oil pressure sensor. Now, I could jack up the car and do it, or I could try it this way. I really don't want to jack up the car right now. There's 2 mounting brackets. I'm going to have to finagle them around. I think, didn't mean to bump you there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see much from back there. I just don't want you to fall over. But probably would have been easier if I took off the fuel pump. But, these flanges are so brittle, I literally just broke it. So, come straight up and out. Alright, we are... Oof. Alright, let you see that. This is crusty. So as soon as I took it out, you can see the holes on the bottom. I can almost poke through it with my finger. So there's no saving that. Pin's all rusted and everything. Yeah, I'll just have to get a new one of those. Alright, so we got that completely out, and you can see how open this engine bay can be. I'm going to take this pan out. It's just like this one. There's just screws. You can kind of see where they go along the edge there. There's little tiny, short little threaded screws. See where some are missing. But yeah, this should just drop right out also. And then all it'll be left is the block attached to the transmission. We don't have a whole lot of room in the front here between that cam pulley and the front. So if we do take off this mount, I have a feeling it's going to drop, or the back is simply held on by the transmission. I didn't see any other mounts underneath there, but as soon as I take this side out, I'll take a better look. Alright, so we got both floor pans, I guess you'd call them, out. Zip tied some of this out of the way. You can see just how big this engine bay is, considering what little bit is in here. Taking those floor pans out really opens it up. I can see why they have them, because I'd hate for some dirt to get kicked up and start caking this, or especially with your exhaust here. And on the other side, your radiator, it's got that little fin on the side, but still, if something kicks up, gets caught in the belt, imagine like a plastic bag, like a Walmart bag or something, and that just getting kicked up and entangled in your belt, and you don't even know it, Golly, look at that. But you don't want to run that risk. So when I do this conversion, I am going to put those back in. I might might paint them a cool color or something like that. I don't know. That's later down the road. But I did look underneath, and there are 2 studs, one on each side from the transmission side. So you have to back them out, and then there's the one here in the front. Alright, so we've gotten to the point where the engine bay is completely clean, and I know it's been like a split second for you guys, but during that time I've crawled down here and looked at the bolts on the back of the block that mounted the transmission. A lot of them are up high, and there's some stuff in the way. And the bottom of the transmission, I don't want to take y'all down there right now because y'all are a really nice camera, but the transaxle is just covered in grease and oil. So I'm sure there's some bad seals on it. I actually want to take that out anyway, and I think the easiest thing to do will be to drop it all as one. I'll take the transaxles out. There's 4 bolts that hold them on. Take those off. Take off the shift link from the front, the speedometer cable that's still in the transmission, and there was like one other wire attached. I don't know off the top of my head. But anyway, I think I'm going to do that on the next video. I already got the front transmission mount bolt off, 17 millimeter. Looks really clean. Looks good. So I think that's where I'm going to end it. And then the next video will be us tackling that, looking at it, tearing through it, to see what we can find. So with that, we did a lot today. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that little bell, you get notification when I post a new video, and keep following along. It's going to be a long process, especially this electric conversion. There's going to be a lot going into it. It's not something I've never done before, and in one of the upcoming videos I'll introduce you to my friend. His name's Grant, and he will be with us for the rest of the journey on making it electric. It's going to be very exciting, and I'm sure he'll have a lot to mention about what we're going to do, more of the technical stuff that I'm sure some people are interested in. So let's end this video here. Like I said, subscribe, follow, comment, have questions. I'll answer all I can. I know this video wasn't very exciting compared to some others that are coming, but keep following along. It's a fun process, and we're doing pretty good. So we'll see y'all next time, and follow up in the next episode. See you later.